And welcome back to Plaquemines Prep Rewind. Of course, Jason, we don't have a game of the week for the next 2 weeks because supposedly everybody's playing away, even though we found out that maybe Clark might actually be traveling to South Plaquemine. But I heard that the game was going to be at Pan Am, so still kind of iffy on that. But according to our schedules, that everybody's playing away and we don't have a game of the week. We're going to try and get another sport maybe in between there.
See what we can do there.
But, yeah, Bellchase has a 3-game losing streak, and now they get to face Carr.
Oof. It's like getting run over by a car, I think. Yeah,
that was bad.
What can you say? You got basically a Division I college team playing a bunch of high school kids. Devontae Noyle playing quarterback. They tried him at other positions. It worked for about 5 minutes, and they said, "What the hell are we doing? Let's put him back at quarterback."
Speedy.
Standish Dobard back at tight end. Miami commit. I guess it's all about the U for him.
But don't forget Noel Ellis.
And Noel Ellis, son of Noel Ellis.
And then,
right?
and he signed with A&M. And then you got Gerald Willis, who actually is the stepbrother to Landon Collins, whose stepmother is the athletic director at South Plaquemines.
So all kinds of collegiate, local, and big-time recruiting connections there.
You talk about Speedy. Speedy and Gerald Willis are possibly 2 top 15 picks for next year as far as their level on the recruiting rankings. Both of those guys are getting highly recruited.
Yeah, if you look, the new New Orleans Advocate did a piece about next year's recruits, and Speedy Noyle was right up at the top of their list. So,
and if you attack on all that, they have other guys because they are ranked number 27 in the country.
And they're not even the best team in the state.
No.
Which is crazy. But, yeah, Bellchase, from what we heard from Coach Harrison, Eric Ragus may be back for this game. But, man, if I was Eric Ragus, maybe I'd be like, I'm still hobbling. Maybe give me another week, Coach. I don't know.
I'm still tweaked in my leg a little bit.
Hitch in the giddy up there. So
yeah, I mean, 2-time defending state runners-up, number 27 in the country, load of Division I athletes. And to tack on it all, you got to go to Berman.
Got to go to Berman, which is just it's a bad place to play, but it's the ugliest stadium locally. It's a
very classic, though. I mean, it's a classic stadium. It's one of the oldest in the area. So
classic is a nice way of saying it's old and run down. Don't lie. Yeah. Don't lie to the people
I'm trying
at
to
home.
be nice.
But anyway, yeah, that's going to be a tough night for Bellchase. We've also heard that maybe Quinlan Carroll is getting a little closer to coming back.
Yeah.
So if Bellchase wants to hang in this game, they would need all hands on deck. They better hope for a rainstorm or something because I just don't think they have the horses in the stable to compete with Carr.
Maybe
right
somebody can sneak on over there and turn on the sprinkler system the night before because that's one stadium in New Orleans that they don't have turf at anymore. So that's a good thing. And to go to the other game in Week 7, you have Lusher hosting South Plaquemines, of course, the Lusher Lions or the Lusher Drew Breeses.
Fighting Drew Breeses, as I like to call it. You talk about what a terrible stadium Berman is. Lusher has one of the nicest fields in the city.
Well, when you have
Drew
a quarterback like Drew Brees, congratulations, by the way. We know you watch. We know you get this. And
he asked me to send him the DVD is what he does.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations on him breaking that record. But Lusher is surprising 4-1, averaging 35 points a game.
So apparently all of Drew Brees' ability to win games is with Lusher and not with the Saints right now.
Yeah, the only bad thing is they average 35, but they give up 23.
And I have a feeling South Plaquemine's probably going to score more than 23 that night.
Well, considering that they gave up 22 to Fisher and 12 to McDonough, not McDonough 35, McDonough. Yeah, I think South Plaquemines is going to be able to put a few more points up, especially with their size and their speed, because we know that they're bigger and faster than Lusher.
Yeah, Lusher has not played a team the caliber of South Plaquemines yet. And we are watching the South Plaquemines, this hurricane build strength, if you will.
It's brewing.
They might be up to Category 2 or 3 at this point.
Right.
And this is fun to watch. If you're a fan of football in Plaquemines Parish, it's been 2 or 3 years since they've really had a team like this in the south end of the parish that you can wrap around. And
yeah, that other paper that we talk about, the one that's only 3 days a week, it actually said next to it said hurricanes are back. Which is a good sign for South Plaquemines. And the only way I think that Lusher has a shot at this game is if South Plaquemines gets to looking ahead a few weeks, because we know they're not looking. We know they're not looking to their next opponent, in Week 8. which we'll get to in a second. But I mean, if they're looking ahead, this could be kind of a trap game. But I think that Coach Figueroa has these boys looking 1 week at a time, one game at a time, take care of the task at hand, and we'll get to that when we get to it.
You're absolutely right. Coach Figueroa has restored kind of the faith in the players have in the coach. He's restored the faith that the fans have in the coach.
Yeah.
He is that rock that they've been looking for. So if they're smart, they're going to get him locked in there for a long time to come, because this looks like the beginnings of what South Plaquemines had several years ago.
Yeah, there have been some fans, from what I heard, that are still not on the Figueroa bandwagon, saying he doesn't throw the ball. Well, when you rush 309 yards and your quarterback scores 5 touchdowns in a game, you don't have to throw, folks. So
darn 60 points.
Yeah, the best thing for you guys to do is, if you're not on board, jump on board, and if you are on board, stay on board. And because the following week, it's your favorite team that they got to play.
They'll win. Hey, Clark got a win this year.
Yeah, they beat Cohen.
They beat Cohen. And we saw that wonderful Cohen team, the 74-6 shellacking by the hands of South Plaquemines. So.
Yeah, it's they got to play the game because they're in the district. So at least it's a district game. It's going to count for that. But South Plaquemines, like you said, they're brewing something. They're 4-1 right now, 3-0 in district. Got a chance to be 6-1 in a couple weeks, and 4-0 in district with some good games in Week 9 and Week 10. But to go back to the other Week 8 game, Belle Chase is going to end up playing, of course, in Week 7 they play 5-0 Carr. In Week 8, right now they're 4-0 Eau Perry Walker, but they're going to be 5-0 by the time they play them. So 2 weeks in a row, Belle Chase is playing 2 undefeated teams in their district that are top 4 in the state.
Yeah, it's like, we talked about this, I think, at the beginning of last season about this district that Belle Chase is in, like the SEC. Yeah. Like, there's no week off. There's no easy opponent. And what's sad right now is that some of those teams might be looking at Belle Chase like this is the easy game in the district. Again, Belle Chase, they need to get healthy, and that's the key. We saw, what that team looked like weeks 2 and weeks 3. Now, granted, they were playing very inferior competition, and they were very competitive in that East Jeff game right up until the point where the quarterback and the lineman got hurt.
Yeah.
If they had that same team assembled, they might be a lot more competitive in these games. But like you said, the way Walker's rolling right now, the way Carr's rolling right now, I just don't see that happening.
No doubt about it. They're a totally different team with Eric Ragus at quarterback. It gives them much more dimensions. Eau Perry Walker, we talked about at the beginning, they wasn't supposed to be as good because their quarterback, who's playing football at Tulane now, but their defense is what's keeping them in games. Of course, they had the freak. Everybody talks about LSU being DBU. These guys over here, you could call them D-line high because they're giving up 3.5 points a game. That's it. So
that's crazy. I mean,
they shut out Higgins, which, of course, we're partial to Higgins. And not to mention they completely stunned and shut out McDonough 35.
Yeah, it's made us really take a look at Eau Perry Walker. You kind of – they weren't – like you said, they weren't really expected to do that much. Right. Especially, I mean, you look at Jamboree. They played to a scoreless tie with South Plaquemines.
Well, that was was that the Jamboree or was that the scrimmage?
That was the Jamboree.
Okay, the Jamboree, you're right.
If you remember, South Plaquemines actually played two Jamboree games.
Right.
So, we kind of – it made us go, is South Plaquemines all right?
Yeah,
is
South
Eau Perry Walker
that
that bad? Like, we didn't know what to figure out from
right.
that. And it looks like maybe both were true, that Eau Perry Walker was playing a pretty quality opponent in South Plaquemines and vice versa. So, Eau Perry Walker, look out. And like you said, they're, just a handful of points a game. And Belle Chase right now, without the offense, struggling to score points. That could be a very long night. At least Devin Powell's not quarterback anymore at Eau Perry Walker. And I know you don't like to talk Tulane. But
and like we said, they're led by their defensive end, Corey Smith. But they limited McDonough 35, I got to read this just to make sure I get it right, to 36 yards rushing and 119 total yards, and they got 3 interceptions. Now, if Eric Ragus is not back for Belle Chase, and we know that Dylan Parker is an average at best type of thrower, and they gave up 36 yards to McDonough 35, who is extremely large up front. You're right. It's going to be a long night for Belle Chase.
You're right. I would have to agree with that assessment.
And, of course, they play Cox this week. And then they'll play Belle Chase in 2 weeks. Well, next week, should I say. But, Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to beat Cox, so they'll be 5-0. And this is setting up to be a Week 10 matchup where most of the fans might end up watching South Plaquemines and John Curtis, but the other fans in the New Orleans area could end up watching two undefeated Carr team and Opay Walker team battling out at Berman Stadium.
And those are two teams that don't like each other to begin with.
No, what are they, like 3 minutes away from each other?
The natural rival, one, just opposite sides of General Meyer right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know some of the faculty at Carr, and there's a lot of bad blood between those two schools. Anyway, you make them both undefeated going into, district on the line. Wow.
As excited or as a football fan as most people should be, you kind of, even though it's at the expense of Belle Chasse, you kind of want to see both of these teams undefeated because that is going to be one heck of a football game. Just like we want to see South Plaquemines run the table and set up an undefeated district matchup with the #1 team in the country in John Curtis, which we'll actually preview at the next show. But, yeah, two tough games for Belle Chasse. More than likely they're going to come away with no victories. They're going to lose both of these games. More than likely, of course, we'll get to that more in a little bit. And they'll go from they'll have a 2-game winning streak at the beginning of the year to a 5-game losing streak. And then South Plaquemines is just the opposite. South Plaquemines looking to have a 6-game winning streak before we get to our next show. But we're going to take a short break, catch our breaths a little bit, and let you see some of our sponsors. As when we come back, we'll preview Week 7, and then we'll take another break and come back and preview Week 8. So more to come on Plaquemines Prep Rewind right after this.
Get that.